Hello everyone and welcome to My Hobby Home. My name is Cathy. Thank you so much for joining me today. We're doing a little bit of day in the life, last minute gifts, baby shower gifts. Today I am doing another one of the self-binding baby blankets. This one here is cut with the larger piece here at 40 inches and this piece cut at 30 inches. You could do it any size, just make sure there's a 10-inch difference. What I cut my fabrics with, first thing I did, I pressed. I made sure everything was flat, even, so I could do this. Some ways I had to do a double fold, like fold it in half, then fold it in half again. But on the large one, this is the Stripology ruler. It does go to 20 inches. So what I did, I laid my fabric here and I pressed down on this side to lock that fabric in, and I cut on the 20. I may be backwards. No, that's right. This is the 0 line right here. And this is the 20 right here. So what I did, I used the side of this to lock my fabric in, and then I cut on the 20. I did the same thing with the smaller one, but I cut on the 15. So, and I flipped it both ways, so I could do both ways at 20 and then both ways at 15. So that gives us this. Now, what we want to do is take our larger fabric. We're going to leave it face up. Now, one of the things I did do, I did press in this corner and this corner. And how you know which corners to do, this is your center. You do it on the corners opposite that. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and open this up. And I pressed it so I can see where the centers are. I need to know where the centers are on each side. And you will be able to see I have this right side up. And what I'm going to do is take my smaller piece, open it up, and it's going to be right side down. When I open this up, I find that center where I pressed on that and the center where I pressed here. And I am going to line these up, and that's going to be my, okay, so I'm going to pin right here on this first one. I pin right there. Now what I do on this first side that I'm doing, I'm going to leave several inches right there. And how I'm going to know that I'm doing that, I'm going to put a different pin in there. So that lets me know right there I'm not sewing between those two. But what I will do is even up the edges of both of my fabrics all the way until I get 1/4 of an inch from the edge. Now the reason I'm pinning the way I am is I'm going to be sewing with this laying flat like this. And what you will do, you will sew from the center to the outside. You will not sew from the outside to the center. So I am going to put my pin about 1/4 of an inch from the edge right there. And then when I come over to the other side, I will just pin it all the way across. I figure this might be easier to see than how I did it before. Not necessarily a tutorial, but it just makes it a little easier. The more you see it, the easier it becomes. But I'm pinning it all the way across. I'm not worried about this piece that hangs out here. We will worry about that a little later. Now I know I'm pinning this from the wrong side because when I turn to do this one, I will be sewing from the center to the end. So probably what I will do is I will just make this fit under the neck of my sewing machine and still sew it from center to end. And once again, pin approximately 1/4 of an inch from the end of that small fabric. That is our stopping point because we do not want to sew past that. Now what I'm going to do, I am going to turn my machine back around here so I can actually work on it, so I can sew on it. I turn it out of the way over here where I can do all my cutting and things, and you know, I have plenty of workspace. But 1 second, I will have it turned around, and then we will start sewing this first edge. I do have the dual control feet on this machine down, so it will help pull this fabric through. I'm going to try to get my fabrics laid flat here to make sure all my fabrics are even. We are going to sew this at 1/4 of an inch. Now I am starting at that alternate color pin because that is going to be open from the center to the pin. So we're going to pull the pins out as we make it to them. And y'all, I noticed I was editing a video and noticed that my mic has gotten very sensitive. I think I might have pushed a button, and the decibels, it's allowing more sound to come through. First off, my machine sounded like it was struggling. And then I noticed it picked up my breathing. I am currently having a bout of asthma, so that means I mouth breathe. When I have that, I mouth breathe, and being that it's right here, it's gonna pick it up. So I'm not choking. I'm okay. It's just how it is. So, but I'm okay. Just know I'm okay. I am doing what I'm supposed to do for it. This is something that I've had since childhood. So it's, oh, I don't like sewing this like this. I'm not going to. I'm going to remove the pins and put them on the opposite side. The reason with flannel that you want to sew from center to outside is because you don't want it to push your fabric too far one way. Now I would love to be able to see where the end of this fabric is, but that's why you put that pin about 1/4 of an inch from the end, so you know where to stop. Okay, and this one here, we don't want to sit down right on that pin, but I'm going to put my presser foot down, get that pin out of the way. We are back on that 1/4 of an inch and making sure it stays there. This is very important that you have that stay on that 1/4 of an inch, because if you don't, it will change the width of your self-binding. I did that. That's how I know. And I don't know how I do. I sewed it from one end to the other, and that messed the sizing up. So I'm telling you from experience, not from something I've seen. I'm telling you from experience. Because I was like, why in the world is it doing this? And so I went back and I looked, and I saw you're supposed to sew from the center out, not from end to end. So just remember that, center out. Now, are they all going to be perfect? No, because right now I have 1/4 of an inch trying to get away from me. So what we are going to do is sew right to that pin. Take that pin out. I'm going to move my foot and needle up. And so we have that first seam sewn. I am going to continue to do that. Now, you notice how you've got one piece longer there. You're still going to come to the center here. Let's find our centers. There's my pressed center. Let's find my here's my pressed center. We are still going to put those two together. Now you see it's going to be crazy there, but we're going to go this way first because these will pin on this side. When you go to your left, you'll pin on the back side away from you. So this is my left. So when you're holding it in front of you, it'll be to your left. Now that I'm on my right side, I am just lining the edges up, not stretching the fabric. Make sure to not stretch the fabric. And I'm pinning on my side of the fabric now. Okay, so here we are to the end of the fabric. What we are going to do is pin right there about 1/4 of an inch away from the end. Okay, so what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to start on this end, my end, my side of it. I'm going to lay that down on that 1/4 of an inch, put that pin just right past it, because I don't want to sit down on that pin, because that may make some of the fabric stretch and we don't want that to happen. And just continue to guide it at that 1/4 of an inch. I think my niece is doing her baby boy's room in like greens. And I have the one blanket that I've made, and it's green. Green. Very green. It's a chartreuse green, however you say that. And that is the exact same color that she used for her gender reveal. So I asked her, I was like, is that the color you're using? And she was like, yes, that's the color she's using. And she's like, all kinds of greens. So this one here, this little woodland animal, it has some pink in it as well. So I'm hoping they can tell it's a boy. So now I will turn it. I'm going to get back here to where I started on the other side. Get it laid flat. And I know my niece is so excited. She's actually older than my oldest daughter, which my oldest daughter is 28. So I think my niece is probably, because my oldest daughter and my nephew, her brother, the one that's having the baby, her brother, are the same age. So I think that makes her about 30. Because I think they were about 2 years apart. And I think she thought she was never going to have children. And in her younger years, it was because she chose not to. Because, you know, just wasn't her time. She hadn't found that she had been engaged actually a couple times. And things did not work out. And thank goodness they didn't. I'm not saying that to be mean, but the man she is with now is really great. He treats her right. And that's all we care about, is that he treats her right. Okay, so now we've got the two sides. So I'm just going on to the next side here. And I know I've got the big piece to y'all now and the little piece to me. But let's find our press. There's our press. Here's our press. And just keep lining these presses up. I'm hoping to embroider the baby's name on the blanket. But if I don't, that will be okay. It will not be a big deal. This should be something pretty simple and quick to get done. I have a few small things that I'm wanting to get done today. It's already 9 o'clock at night. I had issues with my editing software it was not allowing me to export my video earlier today. I thought I was going to have another last Sunday scenario, like a lost video again. I was fretting. I was really worried. But this time, before I lost my video, I just moved it to my computer, and I was like, once I get it figured out, we will upload it or send it back to my phone, because the software is an app on my phone. It is a beta app with YouTube, and it's been a little cranky lately. Now you will start noticing some pulling on the fabrics, because the smaller piece, I have mine underneath right now. So I'm making sure nothing is overlapping under here, so I'm not sewing anything under. Okay, so we got that one completed on that side. I'm not going to embroider the name on it, so I am just going to flip this over and go ahead and sew this together, so we will have it completed. And then what we will do is do our mitered corners. And I will try to show y'all how to do that as well. Okay, so now that we have our blanket done, I'm going to show you what it looks like. We still have this pin right here, so I know where we're at, but you will see that on the back side, this is bigger. But we do need to fold this up and make our edges. So let me we're going to do our mitered corners here, not edges. When you fold this, you should have a point. It don't all the time happen for me. So let's see. I'm going to show you this direction. This is your small piece here. You're going to fold that up where it has that point right there. So you make these top edges line up. You should have a point. Ooh, it's very close. So what I'm going to do here, I'm laying it out on my table, because I have to do this for the next step to happen. So I have it laid on my table. You have this folded edge here, and you have your stitch line here. You need a straight edge or a ruler. You lay the edge of the ruler on that fold, and then you take the other edge and line it up on the stitch line. So let's see. We're on that folded edge, and we're to the stitch line. Make sure I am getting my pin, and I am just going to mark it. That is our other stitch line. I don't know if other people do this, but I'm going to. I pin so I don't lose that stitch, so nothing gets off. I want everything to remain where it's at and not get off. We don't want it to get off kiltered, because then our miter will be off. So I'm just going to put that line. I'm going to line it up on my center line on my machine. And I think this is where I went wrong the last time I made one. I think my fabrics kind of got twisted or something. They didn't stay together. And I didn't think about it. I don't even know if I'm close to where I'm going to turn it inside out, but I forget and I hit the automatic thread cutter, and my automatic thread cutter does not work right. So what I'm going to do, I am close to it. I'm just going to reach my hand in there. We're going to get that corner, pull it through, and we're just going to see, did it miter? And if it mitered correctly, it will, well, it's not going to lay flat because I have all of that fabric under there. But yes, it looks, I'll show you what it looks like. When I pull the fabrics, it doesn't do a funny peak or anything like that. So that works. I always like to check that before I go cutting that off, which now I will. And to cut it off, I always use a straight edge to do my cutting. Of course, you only, you know, if you're at 1/4 of an inch, you're good. So what I'm going to do is finish the other 4 corners and then turn this inside out. Okay, so now we have it turned inside out. So what we need to do is get all of our points out. You can do this with a pen. You can do it. I have a stiletto, but one end of it is supposed to have a guard over the stiletto, and that guard is lost. So let me find that hole. I just pulled that all through. What I do is I just stick my finger up in that point and just make sure the point comes out. Now we will be stitching down on that stitch line again, just to hold it all in, hold everything together. So let's get this, and I may even pin just to make sure it is stable. And guys, it takes about an hour to make one of these, maybe a little over an hour. So all of our points are done. So this is a self-binding baby blanket. Now what I need to do is sew that hole closed, and also I'm going to stitch maybe on the inside of that line to hold it down all the way around. But what I want to do, and I don't know if other people do this, I want to press. So what I need to do, I'm going to leave y'all here. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to lay this flat, because when I press, I will press these seams down to make this all flat so I can pin it, and that way I know my binding is not going to be off. Alright friends, I am back. I have got this pressed and pinned. I've got to find the side that I pinned, the hole where I can sew it, and here it is. I have pressed this. I'm taking a little extra care with it since it is a gift. That's not my daughter's. One of my daughters or daughter-in-law. It's going to be a gift given at a baby shower, so I wanted to make sure to do it real cute like. So what I'm going to do is, I think I'm going to get on that 1/8 of an inch line, because what I'm doing here is tacking that hole closed, and I'll just do an 1/8 of an inch all the way around the binding to hold it all in place. Now I am going to check that to make sure it's catching the binding, but this is what I'm doing. And the foot I have on my machine is a 37D. It's 1/4 and a 1/8 inch. If I line it up on the outside of the foot, it's 1/4 of an inch. The inside of the foot, it's an 1/8 of an inch. And I do have this blanket pinned all the way around. because I didn't want my self-binding to get off a little bit. And most of the pins I put on the outside of the stitch line so I wouldn't have to remove it while I'm sewing, but I do have a few that I will have to remove. So guys, what I'm going to do is continue to sew around the binding area to just attach the front to the back, so we have something that keeps it from getting all messy. So like when it's washed, it all will kind of keep a shape. And I will be right back with you once I'm done to show you what I've got. Okay, friends, I am done with this cute little baby blanket here. Let me lay it out so you can see it. Look at there. It's got the little wildlife animals on it. On the back here. It looks really cute. I need to make sure I didn't roll anything up there, tuck anything around, but it looks really cute. So guys, thank you for joining me. This is a quick little baby gift that I'm making here for my sweet little great nephew that's not here yet. Hopefully he'll be here in August. Everything's gonna be great. I wanted to get more done tonight, but I'm not, because it's almost 10 o'clock, guys. I've been doing this for an hour and a half. I did press everything out really good. So, guys, thank you so much for joining me. Give me a thumbs up. Subscribe if you have not yet. Feel free to leave a comment. And as always, until I see you again, I hope you have a very blessed day. Bye, guys.